Story 1. If you have a trusted mechanic that you like, you must wish them farewell because you will hardly ever see them again. Story 2. I have many points to share. Tires wear down more quickly and are more susceptible to catastrophic damage because of extra weight and torque. Range and efficiency in cold weather are drastically reduced compared to warm weather, sometimes by up to 1/3. If you are not on the Tesla charging network, which is fortunately becoming more accessible, you will experience range anxiety. Level 3 chargers at stations are often not working. Even if you find functioning Level 3 chargers, expect charging output to be well below advertised levels, or be prepared to wait for one to become available. Some brands of Level 3 chargers are more expensive per mile than gasoline, and you cannot simply compare prices and switch to another charger nearby because it is likely the only option available, and you might not reach the next charger. Your used electric vehicle will depreciate even more than an internal combustion engine car of the same age due to rapid improvements in this technology. On the positive side, I love how electric vehicles drive due to their lower center of mass, linear acceleration, and instant torque. No oil changes are necessary. Charging at home is convenient and eliminates the need to plan around gas station visits. Although this list seems heavily weighted against electric vehicles, I do not frequently drive long distances, and our primary long-distance car is an internal combustion engine vehicle. I enjoy my electric vehicle as a second car for local driving and short commutes. For a primary car, I would like to see range increase by 25% or more and charging infrastructure improve by 300% before completely replacing internal combustion engine cars for long trips. Story 3. Your charging situation really matters. If you can charge at home, you are good. Apartment living can be a bit of a pain if they only have time spaces. Sometimes I needed more than 6 hours and could only charge 2 hours at a time at my old apartment. It was a small hassle. Otherwise, road trips can take an hour extra if they are far enough without chargers on the route. That said, I will never go back to gasoline. Story 4. Insuring Tesla vehicles can be expensive. Tires wear out faster. Getting repairs can be a hassle and costly. For some reason, mechanics in my area treat them like advanced spacecraft. On the plus side, I save a lot on fuel and maintenance for the most part. Also, full self-driving is adequate for local driving and excellent for long highway trips. Story 5. Finding someone who is trained to service electric vehicles is difficult. Not a single shop within my area works on electric vehicles. It is the one thing that would have stopped me from buying my Chevrolet Bolt if I had known. Do not get me wrong, I like the Chevrolet Bolt, but having to drive over an hour to get it serviced is very frustrating. Story 6. Most of the issues are discussed. The biggest one that does not get properly addressed is the cost of home charging versus charging at a station. Opponents of electric vehicles use the costs of the most expensive commercial chargers to claim electric vehicles are more expensive, while supporters focus on how inexpensive it is to charge at home using solar power. In summary, the cost differences in electric vehicle ownership depend on individual circumstances. Story 7. If you buy an American electric vehicle, the resale value is low, just like all United States cars. It wears out tires rather quickly, but there is no other maintenance required. Long road trips do take longer for stopping and charging, but I eat or take a bathroom break, so it is not as bad. People who have never owned an electric vehicle will tell you all kinds of negative information about electric vehicles, which is quite annoying. Story 8. The only downside for us has been that on road trips, sometimes there is a key charging station that you really cannot skip for range reasons, and if it is really busy, you can be stuck waiting. Disabled chargers are less of an issue. Between PlugShare and the various networks applications, it is rare that we have encountered a charger that was unexpectedly out of service and that we could not plan around. However, you cannot necessarily predict when there will be a rush. For us, though, that is it. For day-to-day use at home, there is zero downside. Story 9. Unless you charge at home, it costs the same as gasoline in California. Tires wear out faster. Annual car registration is more expensive. Car insurance is more expensive. When the weather is hot, you have to cool the battery, and when it is cold, you have to warm up the battery. Actual driving mileage drops more than gasoline cars. Story 10. Knowing that with a gasoline car, You can almost always find a fueling station within 10 miles of your location, so you never need to do any research ahead of time, no matter where you go. However, with an electric vehicle, part of my pre-trip planning requires me to search the route and destination for chargers and put some thought into when and where I charge. It is not a big deal, but it has required me to use mental effort on something different. Story 11. Downside: long road trips take longer because of charging stops, and some locations still have poor charging infrastructure. Story 12. For me, one of the biggest downsides is having to deal with people raising unfounded complaints about electric vehicles that are either grossly exaggerated or not a factor at all. These complaints are usually based on unreliable sources. Story 13. Surprised no one has mentioned this yet. Going to the mechanic. Almost all third-party mechanics do not work on electric vehicles except for minor tasks like replacing tires or auto glass. So if you have a Tesla and it breaks down, how close is your nearest dealer? You have to travel further and pay a higher tow bill. Also, as with any dealer, repairs will be more expensive than third-party mechanics. What happens when the Tesla dealer is fully booked? I had to wait 3 days for an appointment to repair the car. This is not just an issue for Tesla, but it is probably worse for Tesla because there are more dealers for other companies. Without looking, do you think a Ford dealer is closer to you? Story 14. The main advantage of getting an electric vehicle is being able to charge it at home, which is far cheaper on your home electricity tariff. That is, if you are able to charge it on your home electricity supply. If you live in an apartment or somewhere with a parking space not near your home, you are out of luck. Your only option is a public charge point, which, where I live, is as expensive if not more so than petrol. Story 15. Our power company offers a discount on your electric rate while charging. However, I did not check which companies have software that interfaces with the power company. Basically, every original equipment manufacturer is on the list except Stellantis. My wife fell in love with a Wrangler 4xe, so we do not receive a discount when charging. Stellantis software cannot communicate with the power company to inform them when the vehicle is charging. This is just one of about 20 reasons not to buy from Stellantis. This vehicle is a hybrid versus purely electric, but the issue still stands. Story 16. Here's something my friend discovered. Due to the weight of the batteries, if you get into a minor collision, there can still be significant frame damage that could total the car, even if it is nearly new. Be sure to get guaranteed asset protection insurance if you are financing. Story 17. This is only a concern on the hottest days, but if my BMW i3 is parked in the sun when the temperature rises above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, the vehicle sometimes limits or shuts down power to the wheels due to heat. This has happened while driving down the street before, so now I am careful not to accelerate too fast during the hottest part of the day. It is my fault for living in the desert, I guess. Story 18. People cannot stop talking about the downsides of electric vehicles, but somehow accept the downsides of gasoline vehicles as irrelevant when making the comparison. Driving around with gallons of flammable liquid while igniting it little bits at a time? No problem. Maintaining 6 unique fluids? No problem. Engine is really loud? No problem. Comparably inefficient energy source, as compared to those same fossil fuels producing energy on the grid? No problem. Hundreds of moving parts? No problem. But the battery that you will replace in a decade, that's what people are worried about. Sure, electric vehicles have their downsides, but nobody ever compares them to the downsides of gasoline vehicles. And that is how you end up with the battery is bad for the environment as if fossil fuels are not. Story 19. It is a fact that all other non-electric vehicle owners will retell stories about electric vehicle myths. They heard information from someone's uncle as truth and are not willing to change their minds. This is going to be the worst part of electric vehicle ownership. Some people do not like change. I have been told the car cannot go over 60 miles per hour. One pedal driving means it does not have a brake pedal. Charging 2 electric vehicles on your street will cause a blackout. Many more. Story 20. As soon as you buy an electric vehicle, you learn the political stance and lack of factual understanding of everyone around you. You know that thing is actually worse for the environment. You do not believe that global warming is real, do you? Story 21. Tesla-specific, bodywork is a nightmare. The rest is an overblown concern. The worst downside is that it makes renting a gasoline-powered car a huge disappointment. Story 22. Electric vehicle charging stations operated by EVgo are highly unreliable. Some stations in my area have been broken for months. Electrify America is currently the best and most reliable service. ChargePoint started poorly but repairs their chargers quickly and has improved their design and charging speed significantly over the last few years. Story 23. There are still states like South Dakota where the charging network is non-existent. Electric vehicles depreciate faster due to notable improvements in the technology. If you are doing it to be more cost-effective than gasoline, you will have a bad experience. Initial costs such as a home charger are often overlooked. I am coming out about even compared to what I was paying for my gasoline car, but eventually, I will save some money as long as nothing catastrophic happens. Story 24. In a heavy snowstorm, the hood of the car will not be warm. The snow will not just roll off. It will pile up on the hood. You may have to pull over from time to time to sweep the snow off the hood. Story 25. It takes more than 20 minutes to recharge. It is better for people who commute to work and then recharge the battery overnight at home than for people who want to take road trips. I have a hybrid, and it is excellent for road trips. I really wanted the plug-in hybrid, but it was too expensive at the time. Story 26. The range is mainly affected by driving above 60 miles per hour, towing anything, putting on a roof rack, cold weather. Before anyone incorrectly states that it is the same for internal combustion engine cars, it is not. Internal combustion engine cars are considerably more efficient at highway speeds than at low speeds, where electric cars are nearly 100% efficient at low speeds. This means that as air resistance increases at high speeds, it is offset by the increased efficiency of internal combustion engine cars, but not in electric cars. This means that the range of an electric car will drastically reduce at 75 miles per hour compared to 60 miles per hour, whereas in an internal combustion engine car there will be a couple of miles per gallon reduction at most. I have an electric car and an internal combustion engine car. I love my electric car and firmly believe they are the future, but we need to be realistic about them. They have some serious limitations, and their range drop-off due to wind resistance is one of them. Story 27. Expect your car insurance rates to increase significantly. The battery is one of the most expensive parts of an electric vehicle, and the likelihood of it being damaged in an accident is considerable. Story 28. I do not know if this is still the case, but in the past, Tesla did not stock spare parts. Therefore, if someone hits your car, it can be in the shop for 3 or more months just waiting for parts. Story 29. They have very fast acceleration, so you will wear out tires when first demonstrating it to friends. You will need to learn to avoid sudden starts and take it easy to save tire rubber. People may sneer at you for the Tesla name. Story 30. Does the air conditioning cause the battery and mileage to drop at 90 degrees Fahrenheit outdoor temperature and above? My hybrid is struggling this summer to cool, and Toyota says it is because the air conditioning must cool the electric engine first. Story 31. The downsides are well discussed and exaggerated. Large financial interests from oil and gas propaganda ensure the drawbacks are overstated. Story 32. I watch a lot of electric vehicle YouTube videos, and the charging station experience seems to be inconsistent. One place might charge much faster than another. Some stations might not work at all, and errors are common. Not all charging stations support all electric vehicles. Story 33. One downside I did not expect is having to explain that all the disadvantages other people have, I do not have. I know this does not apply to everyone, but it is not our only car. It is my wife's. She works less than a mile away, and her old car did not even warm up going to work. 99% of our driving is around town. The car has over 200 miles of range, which is more than a tank gets me on my performance cars with me driving. I do not fill the tank on those cars every day, and I do not need to plug her car in often. So in short, yes, I charge at home. Costs me nothing as I have an excessive amount of solar energy. We have the ideal car routing, And in the less than once a year I need a long-range car, truck, SUV, or whatever, I have access to them. We do not have range anxiety. We do not even plug it in every day. Looking at my phone just now to check, we plugged it in 3 days ago, and it is currently at 89%. It would be higher, but I have been bringing the kid to camp in it this week. As far as tires, brakes, and maintenance go, it is a lease. At the end of driving this brand new car for about $230 a month, we can buy it at its then current value, which should be lower than if we bought it outright, or lease another for about the same amount a month. Story 34. Why does every electric vehicle need to be a showcase of useless, gimmicky technology? I like to call this technology the kind that would excite chimpanzees. Screens everywhere, electronic door handles, no knobs, switches, or buttons. Just a gaudy yet sterile environment where nothing is intuitive, but it looks futuristic so people buy it. Why can't they just make a normal car with an electric drivetrain? I dislike how people easily impressed by this technology ruined an otherwise good attempt at moving away from internal combustion engines. Story 35. The incorrect statements made by many internal combustion engine car owners who do not know the facts or have first-hand experience of owning a decent electric vehicle. To be honest, most of it is not hidden. Story 36. Car does not go vroom vroom. The car only goes HHHHCZZZZZZZZZZZZ. The car going vroom vroom is very fun and enjoyable. The car going HHHCZZZZZZZZZ is not enjoyable and not fun. Story 37. Once we have a new government, we can finally see Chinese electric vehicles being sold in the Americas. They are high quality and affordable. This should help minimize the current problems caused by the near monopoly. Story 38. One of the biggest downsides is that it is still a car and does not solve any issues. You will still be stuck in traffic or sitting in traffic. You will still require the same amount of space to store it, and most of the time you will be carrying around for unused seats and mostly empty space within an oversized vehicle. This increases weight and reduces the efficiency of what is already the least efficient choice for personal transport: a car. Story 39. If the car catches on fire, the fire department must use a special foam to extinguish the fire. This foam contains chemicals that cause cancer and other health hazards. Story 40. Losing weight because you no longer consume junk food and sodas that you used to buy at gas stations when refueling. Having to fill up your life with other activities because you have extra time every month, not wasted at gas stations and dealerships for repairs. It is very frustrating. Story 41. Tires. Electric vehicles are heavy and fast. Get ready to buy many tires. Maintenance that you usually do on gasoline cars costs zero on an electric vehicle, so you still save money. Story 42. You might drive more aggressively because of instant torque. You get used to being first off the line and develop less tolerance for slower vehicles. You also stop worrying about fuel and will probably press the accelerator more often. Story 43. Tires wear out faster. Most electric vehicles are sold with larger wheels than necessary and could be reduced by 1 or 2 inches in size. Winter battery charges provide significantly fewer miles than summer charges. You will encounter people who still think driving an electric vehicle is like driving a golf cart. Story 44. I love my electric vehicle hybrid and my electric vehicle that I had before it, but if I did a lot of long-range highway trips, I might rethink buying one. It is perfect for my city commuting, but for road trips, I drive something else. Story 45. In the United Kingdom, if you do not have home charging, it can be more expensive per mile to charge than to fill up on diesel or petrol. There can be a 10 times increase in cost between a fast public charger and a home overnight rate. Also, they will tell you the expected range of an electric vehicle, but they do not emphasize the miles per kilowatt hour, which is important. Story 46. They are amazing if you can charge at home or work, but if you live in an apartment without chargers, they are not worth it. Story 47. When you leave and older relatives are next to the car, they wait for the sound of the engine before stepping away. Without the engine sound, they are too close when you start moving. Story 48. In the United Kingdom, traveling is a real pain. While it is getting better now, it was so bad that I got rid of my electric car and went back to diesel so that any long-range journeys are done in my car instead of my wife's. Also, charging at home is not free, and we need to add an extra £100 a month to our electricity bill for charging my wife's car. That is about the same as I spend on diesel, so day to day it is not really cheaper to run. When we first had electric cars, the price of electricity was very low. Story 49. The registration cost in some states can be very high or have additional fees associated with the registration. In Ohio, there is an extra $100 per year for hybrid vehicles, $150 per year for plug-in hybrid vehicles, and $200 per year for fully electric vehicles. Story 50. Your bladder may get biologically reprogrammed. I have to urinate about every 2 to 2.5 hours, which coincides with my charging stops. It is annoying at work. My coworkers and I thought something was wrong, so I started visiting the doctor, only to find out that my last few years of electric vehicle ownership are to blame. Lifestyle-induced changes. Story 51. I have an electric car, but many people say range anxiety exists. However, I think the charging infrastructure is much better now. Since electric cars are more expensive, most people have a garage or driveway to easily install a home charger. With ever-increasing battery range, is it really a big problem? In the United Kingdom, which has much shorter distances than the United States and Canada, we still regularly do 4-hour drives. Many petrol stations run by Shell have fast chargers, and they are everywhere. There are even more fast chargers that are not far from the motorway. What causes range anxiety for those who experience it? Story 52. Buying tires more frequently due to the increased torque and weight of the vehicle also results in loss of tax revenue for highway repair and education. In Texas, almost 40 cents per gallon is taxes, 75% of which goes to infrastructure construction and maintenance, and the other 25% goes toward public education. Story 53. I own a hybrid, not even a full electric vehicle, and my registration is very expensive every year. I was told that it is because they cannot make as much money on me at the gas station in taxes. So they increase the registration fees significantly. It is annoying. Story 54. They usually do not have a spare wheel. If the tire cannot be repaired with a gel kit, then it is time to call a tow truck. If it is after hours or on a Sunday and no tire repair shop is open, you have to wait until a weekday to get it repaired. Story 55. There is no significant difference in sound between 10 kilometers per hour and 70 kilometers per hour. You will therefore not live for speed, but for acceleration. Alfa Romeo owners will know this more than most, where the engines are literally tuned to sound amazing. Story 56. A lot of the downsides I was worried about before buying an electric vehicle have not materialized for me, and I do a lot of travel for work. I think I was basing my concerns on how electric vehicles and the charging infrastructure were years ago, but things have definitely moved on. My car has great range, and finding high-speed charging options away from home is easy if you download the relevant applications. I should add, I'm in the United Kingdom, so I cannot speak for other countries. I think it is easy to pick holes in something different and just accept the inconveniences of what we are used to. Story 57. Got tired of scrolling and didn't see this answer. Extremely cold temperatures severely reduce your range. The 2019 Nissan Leaf usually gets around 150 miles during normal weather conditions. When temperatures drop to single digits or lower, I get closer to 50 miles. I have some hills that also tax the battery at those temperatures. Infrequent, but frustrating. That's what I get for choosing the most basic model, I guess. Story 58. Tesla superchargers are located in some unfortunate places, such as outlet shopping malls. This placement can feel quite disappointing. Story 59. They chew through tires. I have a Model Y with 77,000 miles on it, and I am on my third set, about to need a fourth. I drive it like it is a race car sometimes, but 80% of the time I drive it normally. I believe it has to do with the weight combined with the tires. The car wants tires that are very fuel efficient in order to achieve the range the manufacturer specifies. Story 60. Nothing hidden, it makes a lot more sense if you can charge at home, but that is not exactly a surprise. Other than that, we have loved our Mustang Mach-E. Story 61. Someone bought an electric vehicle Mustang for $66,000 in 2022. A storm surge flood totaled it in 2024. Insurance depreciated at 60% in 2 years due to the sharp decline in electric vehicle prices. Story 62. Unlike a traditional internal combustion engine, you are forever dependent on the manufacturer's information technology for features that really affect usability. Audi installed a 3G modem in my car and then refused to upgrade it when 3G was decommissioned, which means all the app functions, for example, schedule charging, simply stopped working. Story 63. Cost of insurance. Cost of repair for minor fender bender due to sensors needing realignment. Both can be very high. Story 64. You cannot just go anywhere if you need a tire patched or replaced. Most places have to special order electric vehicle tires. Story 65. I say this as someone who does not have an electric vehicle. I live in an area that was impacted by Hurricane Helene, and much of the area was without power for weeks. At some point, the only vehicles on the roads were conventional internal combustion engine vehicles and hybrids. If you live in an area prone to storms or other natural disasters, you probably need some kind of contingency plan for a local power grid failure that could last several days. Story 66. Electrical maintenance of your home power infrastructure is important. After a period of charging at home, your panel, breakers, wires, plugs, and connections go through heat cycles. Over time, these connections might loosen, causing charging errors such as tripped ground fault circuit interrupters. Story 67. More details on the tire issues. 1. I have noticed my tires get punctured more often by nails and screws due to the additional weight. This might be anecdotal, but I have had at least one puncture per year. 2. Electric vehicle tires are harder to patch due to the foam. You might need to replace them, which is expensive, instead of patching, which is cheaper due to a puncture. My tire technician recommends replacing with regular tires, which causes my Tesla to permanently display a small notice, but at least he can patch most punctures. It is unclear if using non-electric vehicle tires voids any warranties. There is a significant air conditioning odor issue in Tesla Model 3 and Model Y due to moisture buildup, but there is a workaround that I have not tried yet. Story 68. As a former 4-year Tesla owner, here are my thoughts. 1. One of the best cars I have owned. I loved driving it, and the low maintenance is appreciated. 2. Range issues are not a problem along major corridors in the United States. The real issue is time. If going beyond your range, multiple stops will be required as Tesla's systems arrange short stops every 160 to 220 miles for charging. This is not a problem if you have time, but you need to factor in return trip charging to start off with a full battery. 3. Costs for supercharging vary across the United States. Home charging is the cheapest option. 4. A peculiar fact is if you have all-wheel drive and a tire issue, most major tire shops will only replace all 4 tires because the computers do not allow for different size tires due to wear. You can replace 1 tire, but most shops will replace all 4. 5. For long road trips, your range at higher speeds will be reduced, similar to an internal combustion engine vehicle. However, gas stations are everywhere, so trips may be extended due to more frequent charging. 6. Range will decrease over time. It is not extreme but something to consider. I switched to a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle due to long trips to areas with poor charging options. I miss having an electric vehicle and will most likely return when ranges improve for my needs. I enjoyed the car and routinely recommend Tesla for all the reasons others have mentioned. Story 69. The post-ownership monetary incentives change frequently. I live in New Jersey. This year, to renew registration, it was $250 more than an internal combustion engine vehicle because the state cannot collect the tax from gasoline for infrastructure. This makes sense but was still a shock. The power rates were restructured. New Jersey is trying to recruit artificial intelligence companies, so electric rates for everyone else have skyrocketed. $250 a month ago turned into $450 this month, and electric costs will likely continue to rise. We will see what happens in 3.5 years. Story 70. As you drive, you hear popping sounds as the batteries ventilate occasionally. During charging, if the batteries overheat, the pressure release causes a popping sound. Story 71. At least in the United States, Electric vehicles are inherently more dangerous during accidents than traditional vehicles. All barriers, crash cushions, and guardrails are only tested and approved for traditional vehicles. Due to the different weight and center of gravity in electric vehicles, they behave in a completely different way than our safety systems are designed for. Story 72. You must use the battery regularly, or it will degrade. I got an electric vehicle from work, but I used to commute by bicycle, so the car sat and used most of the week. When I took it for the 6-month service, they told me I had to drive it at least 3 times a week for 30 minutes because the battery was already degrading due to lack of use. Story 73. Speed of charging varies by level. Level 1 is minimal, providing about 10% charge if you leave your car plugged in overnight, depending on battery size. Charging stations today can increase the battery from 20 to 80% in about 20 minutes. Compared to refueling with gasoline, charging still takes a long time. Story 74. I drive an internal combustion engine car and live in a city. I fill up approximately once every 10 days, and each time I do, I check my tire pressure. If electric vehicle drivers are charging at home or at fast chargers, are they looking after basics like tire pressure or washer fluid? Story 75. Your battery will slowly lose charge, even when completely idle. This reduces efficiency. While not significant, it is typically a non-issue with internal combustion engine vehicles. Imagine leaving your car parked for 2 weeks, only to find 1/8 of a tank missing. Story 76. In the United Kingdom, the charging infrastructure was not great when we had an electric vehicle a couple of years ago. We managed, but it was stressful going long distances as the few chargers available at service stations were usually in use or not working. I have seen far more charging stations this last week after a long journey than I ever remember seeing before, so it looks like it is improving. The cost of charging is frightening, though. It costs about the same as an internal combustion engine car to go on a long journey due to public charger costs. Story 77. Car payments. Otherwise, no real drawbacks. I dislike the touchscreen interface, but that seems to be common in all cars now. Tires can be slightly more expensive if you are used to buying smaller tires for an internal combustion engine car. They have to be able to handle the additional weight. That's it. Story 78. Tires are very expensive and last half as long due to the weight. The environmental contaminants in the battery are devastating to the earth. Repair costs are prohibitively expensive. Range is restricted in cold and very hot weather. Story 79. We bought a used Nissan Leaf and it is awful. Range anxiety, especially with cold and hot weather, is the worst. Good luck with the mile-sucking air conditioner and heater. We can only use it for short trips around the city. That is nice, but we need to charge if it is more than 3 small trips at one time in the city. Also, there are many different charging applications, which is ridiculous. Every charger requires a different application. If I ever buy an electric vehicle again, it will be a new one. Story 80. So much power and so much fun to drive. You will never want to drive a gasoline car again, which is a bit sad because sometimes you have to drive a gasoline car. Could even be a nice gasoline car, but it will still be disappointing. Story 81. The constant frustration when you read an uneducated opinion from an oil enthusiast repeating the same nonsense, as if it is the first time you have heard it. Yes, but it needs a new battery after 50,000 miles. Story 82. A day in the life. You are on an out-of-town trip. You struggle to make the next charging station after the last one you visited was closed for service. You arrive late at your motel, which promised charging stations. All spots are taken. Everyone is parked and fast asleep. Story 83. The Audi Q5 vehicles have been on a recall for months due to the risk of fire if charged. There is no solution in sight. Now, my hybrid vehicle uses high-octane gasoline and has no electric vehicle capability. Story 84. There is no maintenance, and electricity is much cheaper than gasoline. Electric vehicles are faster, and their low center of gravity makes them safer. They are quieter, do not pollute, and you can turn on the air conditioner or heater with your phone before you get in the car. Story 85. I have a 10-year-old hybrid electric vehicle that still gets 48 miles per gallon, same as when new. It has 150,000 miles and no issues with the battery so far. The only repair needed was a brake job. The cost was about $30,000, including all fees and taxes. Story 86. The amount of time I have spent sitting in my vehicle alone in a random parking lot, waiting for a charger to become available and then charging, while on vacation, has been very frustrating. Story 87. In my Tri-County area, if a fire starts in your garage, the fire department cannot extinguish it, and your house will likely burn down along with the car and garage. Story 88. How long do you think the batteries last? Regular car batteries used to last 5 years, now only 2 to 3 years. They will soon design electric car batteries to fail sooner also. Story 89. I do not know about other cities, but the last time I did the math for Honolulu, a 40 miles per gallon internal combustion engine vehicle costs less in dollars of fuel per mile than most electric vehicles charged at home. K-trucks fall into this category. Story 90. Long-distance driving will take longer. You need to ensure your route includes gas stations with charging areas. Depending on how busy those chargers are, you may spend an hour waiting for a spot to charge your vehicle. Additionally, many backcountry or off-the-beaten-path areas may not be suitable for your vehicle. With a regular gasoline vehicle, you can carry a large gas can in case you run out of fuel. However, if you run out of charge, you will be stranded. Story 91. The battery slowly dies when the car is just sitting. You have to keep charging it. It is not like a car with gasoline. You can let a gasoline-powered car sit for a week and it will still have gas. An electric car sitting there is slowly dying. Story 92. Tires are more expensive. Vehicles are heavier, so they do not perform as well off-road. Road trips have a lot of idle time while waiting for recharging. Depreciation is faster. Repairs, aside from regular maintenance, are more expensive. Software is not mature. Touchscreens are frustrating to use. Story 93. The toxic load of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and off-gassing from the battery and materials the car is made from is a significant detriment to the human body. Look up private YouTube videos of the readings people get from electromagnetic field meters. That alone makes me never want to ride in one. No one is complaining about this, which is why the companies do not care about the anxiety your nervous system encounters. These cars are not good for highly sensitive and empathic people. Story 94. For the first 2 years I had an electric vehicle, a Mercedes B250. I felt the need to outperform every internal combustion engine performance car in the lane next to me at every red light. Fortunately, I did not get any tickets as I accelerated past them in my small hatchback. A Corvette was the only car to beat me. I encouraged a driver in a large dually truck to push his engine trying to keep up. Story 95. My Tesla Model Y seriously induces nausea. As a driver, you get used to it. As a passenger, not so much. Children in the back seat fare worse. Apparently, this is common with most electric vehicles. Story 96. 0 to 100% range is meaningless most of the time. 0 to 80% charge time, also known as the charging curve, is what matters on long drives. 19-inch tires are significantly cheaper to replace than 20-inch or larger tires. You need to have at least a backup plan on long drives when arriving at charging stops in case the chargers are full. If you get snow in the winter, you need to have battery preconditioning. While at it, use a heat pump. Get these in order and install a home charger and you won't go back. Story 97. A firefighter said that they can catch fire 3 times on their own in 30 days. The only way to stop it is to be submerged underwater. They can catch fire without any external cause. It also takes a lot more water to extinguish them. Children mining for precious metals at gunpoint in Africa face severe dangers. Certain tires are required, and if the battery begins to fail, serious problems occur. Story 98. In my experience, charging at a charging station is far more expensive than both at home or even filling up with fuel, not to mention far slower. I have an Outlander plug-in hybrid electric vehicle and work from home, so I don't use much fuel, but I am strongly considering going back to a standard hybrid for the next vehicle. I can't speak to a full battery electric vehicle, but electric range in the winter is significantly lower. Mitsubishi recommends keeping it plugged in when not in use to extend battery life. It does this by keeping the battery warm, which obviously uses energy. I am sure a battery electric vehicle is the same. Story 99. An electric vehicle is a car. That is the first downside. Tires, washer fluid, and window wipers need to be replaced. Tires need to be rotated more often. They are quiet, so you might not realize that you are speeding and may get a speeding ticket more frequently. One last thing, they are cars and cars do break down sometimes. Story 100. The tires that came on the car were poor quality. The tires I bought for the electric vehicle cost double the price. Overall, I am very happy. We have solar power, so it is totally worth it. Otherwise, it would not be worth it. Story 101. Range anxiety, long lines at limited charging stations, broken chargers, adding at least an hour to long road trips, multiple applications for charging. Story 102. Four-wheel drive and trailer hitch rated for high loads became common just a couple of years ago. The used market may be lackluster if you are seeking these features and is reserved for higher-end models. Some cars are lower to the ground due to the size of the battery pack. The back seat may also lack legroom as the floor depth is reduced to make space for a larger battery. This is especially true for car chassis designed for a gasoline drivetrain but reused for electric drivetrains, such as the Kia e-Soul. The electric motor does not produce the same heat as a gasoline engine, meaning snow on the hood does not melt away. Electric cars are heavy but have fast acceleration. This can lead to unwanted wheel spin and unnecessary tire wear when accelerating too quickly from a standstill. This is common among modern gasoline cars as well. Electric cars regenerate the battery when braking. This means you are not actually activating the brakes on the wheels as much. The motor itself helps with braking. This can lead to very fast rust buildup on the brakes since they do not get the chance to clear rust through regular use. You need to periodically find a place where you can accelerate and then slam the brakes to force activation and remove rust. Story 103. I sell electric vehicles for a living, not Tesla. You must have level 2 charging at home. Unless you live in a few areas saturated with charging stations, like Southern California, you cannot rely exclusively on public chargers. You can, but it is a major inconvenience and requires much more planning and resourcefulness than it is worth, in my opinion. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.